The Scarlet Chess Club met at Panera Bread on Sunday, June 5, 2022. This game was played between Jose Flores and Zachariah Carlson. So we start with e4, c5. We have a Sicilian on the board. Knight f3, d6, d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, and we have a knight dwarf. And now white played a6, the Adams attack. The move here is e5, kicking out the knight, but black played b5, which somehow weakens the c6 square, and knight c6 cannot be played directly. g4, and here black could have played e6 or bishop e7. Also, b4 doesn't win a pawn, as white can play knight d5, knight takes e4, bishop g2, knight c5, and knight b4. White is simply better. Instead, black here played h6. And here white played a bit inaccurately with f3 instead of bishop g2, bishop b7, castle kingside, knight bd7, rook e1, rook b8, bishop d2, e5, knight b3, bishop e7, and white is better. But after f3, black played bishop d7, bishop e3, and g5. The eval bar jumps a lot because we see a lot of light square weaknesses, and white can just play queen d2 with h4 ideas. And white does actually play queen d2, b4. And here knight d5 should have been played, centralizing the knight. But anyway, knight c e2, a5, castle queenside, bishop g7, and king b1. e5. The e5 move weakens the d6 square. Knight f5, bishop takes f5, g takes f5, rook a6, and knight g3, the top stockfish move. And now the d6 pawn really cannot be saved. Rook b6 will be met with bishop takes b6, and rook c6 is met with bishop b5, pinning the rook and winning the exchange. Black played king e7, bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, and h4. And now the kingside attack begins. Queen c7, h takes g5, h takes g5, and rook h8, bishop takes h8, and white here played rook h1. But instead, here I think, instead of rook h1, you should pause and find out what white could have played. White could have played the very strong bishop takes g5 with the idea of a4, knight h5, b3, c takes b3, a takes b3, and here comes knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, g takes f6, and king d7. But note that if king takes f6, here queen takes d6, queen takes d6, rook takes d6, winning the knight. But instead, white went ahead with rook h1 and bishop g7, bishop takes g5, king f8, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, queen h6 check, bishop g7, queen g5, queen e7, queen g4, bishop f6, knight h5, king e8, queen g8 check, king d7, knight takes f6, queen takes f6, and now rook h8 threatening queen c8, king e7, and queen d8 mate. Therefore, black played king c7, queen c8, king b6, and here white could have just exchanged the queens with queen d8, and then the f7 pawn is falling, but instead played rook d8, queen h6, cheeky, b3, queen d2, and here white blundered with queen d7, and black found the drawing idea with queen d1, king b2, queen d4, king c1, queen g1, and here the draw was agreed.
Okay.
Note that after king e2, queen f2, king d3 falls to knight c5 check. And the other idea is that here, instead, if c3, b takes c3, king c1, queen d2, king b1, queen b2, checkmate. So the only way is to go for perpetual, and this is how this very interesting game ended.